Hello, this is Lolly. Today I am in my Silhouette Design Studio. I have the business edition, and let's go over here and look at this, which is the transform panel. I want to play around with some shapes. I've had requests about this, basic designing skills. If we come over here, I'm going to grab this shape, which is an ellipse, by clicking on it, coming over to my design page, and I will click and drag. So depending on which way I drag, you can see the shape of my ellipse. If I do that again and I hold down the shift button while doing that, it will always make a perfect circle. It will continue making ellipses until I come over here and click the arrow to get out of that. So what I want to do is play around with showing you how to manipulate some basic shapes. I'm going to click this one, right click then, and say to duplicate it, because I'd like to have these three shapes to play with. Okay, so anytime something is highlighted and you don't want it to be, just click off by coming over here, anywhere else on your map. I'm going to click all three of these and go to the line panel here and increase the thickness of the line and turn the line black so that you can see what I'm doing better. Now let's come over here to the transform panel. So this is what you see when you first pull it up, and this is about aligning the shapes in different ways. Let's say that I want them all aligned on the left side. I would click and drag so they're all three highlighted, and then click this where it shows them aligning on the left. You see what it did? It's perfectly aligned on the left side. Let's do that again and assume I want them aligned right down the center. Beautiful. Looks like rocks balanced on each other. Let's highlight again and now balance them to the right. Now they're perfectly aligned that way. Okay, now let's move them around haphazardly and see what else we can come up with. Let's look at the vertical one. Let's highlight them and align them all at the top and give you a look at that. See how perfect that is? Okay, let's highlight them and align them all through the center. It's like a line is written right across the center. And let's also align them at the bottom. Another thing is you can see how it's not centered this way, left and right. So let's do that. Let's highlight them. First, let's align them perfectly this way, but now let's align them horizontally so that all three of them are in a perfect alignment left to right. What that does, let's pull this over here. Aligning horizontally looks at the farthest left shape and the farthest right shape, and it aligns everything in the row between those. So let's highlight them all and do it again. You see what it does? But I did move it, so let's make it so that that imaginary line is going between them again. And let's see, which one did I want to do? This one here. There you go. If you ever make a mistake and grab the wrong button, just hit the arrow back button and it will undo what you just did. Okay, so let's move these around again. And let's look at this if we align it vertically. So now the bottom and the top and this one are all aligned vertically. But what if I want to organize them again this way? So now there's like a line here, and they're all spaced between the top one and the bottom one. This circle is perfect between the two of them. This could be handy when you're designing a hamburger with a hamburger bun. What if we want them all lined up perfectly with each other? That's this center button right here, which we didn't need to because two of these are identical shapes. I could move one of them. You see how it lined it up so perfectly? And if I want all of these to be in the center of the whole page I'm working on, I could click it and come over here and select that. Now it's in the center of my mat here. Okay, isn't that cute how that does that? Okay, another thing, let's go over here and look at this. This is the scale one. So I can click one of these images. Let's move these out. Click an image and scale it to 33% its size. 50% its size, 200% its size, 300% its size, or I can choose a number that I want. Also, I can scale it to a specific dimension. Right now you see it's 4.902 wide and inches and 2.790 inches high. If I want to keep this height but change the width, I can leave this unlocked and just change the width to, let's say, a perfect 5 inches. I will select 5, tab to apply it, and then hit apply. It just tweaked it, so now it is exactly 5 inches. However, if I know this is the exact shape I need, and I want to change the width and height together, I don't want it to become like oblong like that. Let's say this is the shape I exactly need. I would hit this lock button right here, and now I can change this to anything, any size, and it will change the bottom as well. So now it's the perfect dimension. And this is really handy if you have to fit something. Oops, this is supposed to be 7. There we go. It keeps changing to 7.99 on me. 6.99. There we go. I don't know why it keeps doing that. It won't keep it at 7. So anyway, there are many things that you can do with these shapes through this. This one here is the rotate. I can rotate it 90 degrees, or I can rotate it 45 degrees. Now let's show you one application. Another way to manipulate the shape is just by pulling this little square in and out. It keeps the length here but changes the width. Or I can pull this one, which changes the width and not the length and not the width. The corners will adjust the overall size but not the shape. So let's say I like this. I'm going to right click it and say duplicate, and I'm going to take this one and right click it and select to flip horizontally. So now I have this. Let's highlight both of these and come back to here and center them like that. Now I want these to stay together, so I'm going to highlight them, right click and say group, and now they travel as a set. See, they're together. They're not permanently adhered, just like a temporary fix. Now I'm going to right click and duplicate again, and I'm going to take this one here and I'm going to hit the rotate button and rotate it 45 degrees. Let's bring them both over here. And I want to center these perfectly. I can try to do it visually, but I want to do it perfectly. So I'm going to highlight them, come back over here and center them, and group them again. Right click, group. Kind of looks like an atom. Now I'm going to take this circle. I want to make it a little bit smaller, so I'm going to grab the little corner here. And I'm going to hit the color pattern here and choose pink. Now when I bring it out, it is automatically behind this one right now. But if I have the circle highlighted, I'm going to right click and say bring to front. Now you can't see all the lines behind it. Let's center that again. Transformation panel, center. Now we have a flower. Okay, if we don't want any of those lines on the inside at all, you can highlight it, right click and say weld. And now you can see that it's a beautiful flower. So those are just some options that you have. Now let's move all this over here. And I want to do a rectangle so you can see one of the other possibilities here. I'm going to get off there. Now I'm going to highlight that. See this over here? This is the shear tab. And what happens when I click 15 or 30? So it makes a parallelogram. And let's make this a little more narrow. I hope you can see it because I didn't change my line style. Hopefully you can see that better. Let's go back to the transform. On that shear panel, look what happens when when I click the 30 here. Oops, not working. There we go. It's rotating it around. It's not just changing the shape of the parallelogram, but it's rotating its position on the page. If you ever click a button accidentally, like I said, hit the arrow back. See how it's just undoing everything I've done. Eventually it gets right back to the line color and everything that I had originally. So those are just some of the options and things you can do in playing around. Let's do one more thing before I run out of time. And let's do this. I just drew a rectangle. Let's start from scratch here. Well, I just did a rectangle. Let's say I want this to be a page of school paper. Now I'm going to grab the ellipse. I'm going to hold my shift button down as I pull to make the little hole punches on the side. And I don't want to keep making circles and have them all be different sizes. I'm going to click it and I'm going to come to Object, Replicate, Column of 4. Now I'm going to highlight all of them, right click, Duplicate. Whoop, there it is. Now I have 8 of them. I'm going to bring that down here. And remember what I said about spacing these, and that is I'm going to put the lower circle exactly where I want it, and that one up there. I'm going to assume that I want all of these circles lined up between this one and this one. I'm going to highlight all those circles, go back to the transform, and say I want to organize them vertically. Now they are perfectly spaced in distance between top and bottom, but I still need to organize them so that they are flush against the left side or the right. There we go. Now they're perfect. I'm going to move that. So these are in a perfect spaced line. I'm going to right click and say group them. So now if I want to make sure that they are perfectly spaced on my page, I'm going to highlight them and the page and space that vertically. Oop, now it's going to the tops. Wrong thing. This is what I meant to do. This one here. That's what I meant to do right there. Now I still have just these are shapes on a shape, but I want to punch these out of the shape, and I'll show you what I mean. If I color this, see, the holes are not punched. But if I highlight the whole thing, one more button I'm going to show you, and that's the Modify panel. If I click Divide, it's going to remove the other shapes from this shape. And there they are. I'm going to move these off now. But you can see what I have here. I have this shape that I have cut perfect holes out of. So those are just some of the things that you can do. So I hope that was really helpful to you, especially as we were using this transform panel. Play around, make some shapes, play around with them and see what you come up with. And don't be afraid, because anything you can do, you can undo. Make sure you always come up to File and save to library so you don't lose your image. Thank you so much for watching, everyone.